Hi, I'm Tracey L Fisher. Welcome to a re-entry point of view, unapologetic. I'm here with my good friend, State Representative Danilo. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm saying, because my tongue, it's a tongue twister right there. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for coming to my show. This is my first time actually really sitting with him. We met before, but he jogging my memory, but as far as on my show, this is the first time. Let's get straight to it. In an elevator speech, tell my audience who you are.
So first of all, thank you, Trace, for the opportunity to speak to your audience and have a conversation about Philly. So I'm State Representative Danilo Burgos of the 197th Legislative District, raised in Philadelphia in the Hunting Park section. I have the distinct honor to represent the district that I grew up in. I used to be a grocery store owner. I have worked in a number of community organizations like the community visits. The Visitation Community Center over at Kensington and Lehigh. Worked on the Eastern Pennsylvania Organizing Project, and I've always been involved civically. Worked on a number of different campaigns. Worked for Councilwoman Sanchez in City Hall and Councilman Alan Dom before I got elected. And I've always been involved in issues that affect our community.
Councilman Alan Dom, Councilman at Large Alan Dom.
Yes.
He's due here next week.
Oh,
yeah, he's due here next week, God willing. Let me ask you this: What made you want to become a state representative?
Because I wanted to be the change, be that catalyst of change that I want to see in my community. Wow. Being involved in different campaigns and seeing believing that my community deserved better from what we had at the time.
Now, you mentioned Kensington, right? Now, everybody in Philadelphia, including myself, right, has been through Kensington, drive through Kensington. That's not a good sight right now for like with the drugs, the alcohol, the crime and stuff like that. Mainly the drugs and how, the city has, let's put it like this, representatives for every section of the city. Yeah. Kensington has, at the heart of Kensington, has a committee person, a ward leader, a state representative, a council person. Of course, you have the mayor and you have the senator and the congressperson, right? What's your view when you yourself literally gets in your car and drive down Kensington? Well, especially under the bridge part.
Especially under the bridge,
yes.
We need to do things differently because it's obvious that what we've been trying is not working. We need to look at best practices throughout the country or throughout the world, so that we can bring the best approach and most importantly help the community members that live there, that have to live there because of socioeconomic issues, because they deserve as much help and as much benefits as someone that lives in Rittenhouse Square.
Absolutely,
as long as they're members of our community in the city of Philadelphia, we need to provide as government the best possible option for the community. And what we're trying, unfortunately, is not working.
Right.
We need to hold our sister counties accountable because a lot of the people that are out there on those streets are not from Philadelphia.
Right. They're from different areas. Right.
Right. And we need to come up with some type of a vehicle that will help these people go back to their homes and not just declare Kensington their home. Right,
absolutely. And here's some of the thought.
And get them the help that they deserve.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Give them the human touch that we need to give them. Because again, these are people that have issues. Ironically, the twist with that is the frustration. As for someone that's grew up in Philadelphia, is that when it was our turn, it wasn't deemed an epidemic.
Right.
But unfortunately. I always believe that two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
And that we can come up with a solution that will be beneficial for the people that need the help. Because at the end of the day, the residents there need assistance to make sure that their blocks are clean and they have their children growing up don't have to live under those conditions.
Right, absolutely. And I agree, very well put. Because a lot of people we had here, politicians, state reps or whomever, they try to gloss over that, right, because it's such a mess. But you can't gloss over a mess. It's the elephant in the room. It is what it is. You see what you see. So let me ask you this, though. with the crime rate in the city of Philadelphia right now, as far as like when a young male get killed by cops, and now you see the rioting and all that stuff. What's your view on that?
It's the frustration of a community that's been oppressed for years. Whether it's the lack of jobs, the lack of properly funded schools, the lack of challenges to our youth on the educational level. We need to do better. Our children deserve better. Our community deserves better. We as government need to own up to it and provide the resources that our communities need. Recently in the State House, the leadership has changed. And we look forward to being able to increase funding for our Philadelphia schools so that we can provide the resources that we need. I say that because leadership for many years have been all from Western Pennsylvania. And if you look at the numbers funding-wise, Western Pennsylvania and other parts of the state that don't contribute as much taxes like Philadelphia does have received more than their fair share.
Right, absolutely. Now, you previously stated that you was a business owner, store owner, or something like that. Yes. Now, how does that make you feel, knowing that you was providing a service to the community, and then you come to work the next day and your store has been looted?
Well, it's frustrating because a lot of the businesses that were open, that were looted, these are businesses that it's the place where the family can get a loaf of bread, a pound of cheese, a pound of ham to their next pay. They hold over some families to their next paycheck. And unfortunately, it happened. But at the same time, as a business owner, there are things that have happened in our society, particularly to minority communities, that they have been gone unchecked for many years.
Right.
And unfortunately, that these murders had to happen for the wheels of change to start to turn. I'm working closely with my colleagues. I'm part of the police work reform group. We're trying to, pushing legislation so that it can bring meaningful change, most importantly to the job of being a law enforcement officer in the city of Philadelphia, but also to our communities.
Now, that's out Huntington Park, right? Around that area, the police workforce.
No, it's a statewide.
Oh, this is statewide. So y'all be having meetings and stuff like that, and you have an input. You at the table, literally, like I think
sir.
we need to.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Like
pretty cool.
No, my colleagues, Donna Bullock.
Yeah, I know her very well.
Harris,
Beautiful lady.
The public defender, Kia Gray, and a number of other elected officials. Isaiah Thomas from City Council, Kendra, Councilwoman Richardson. A number of us are working together to identify meaningful change and fight for legislatively, whether city, state, and even federal level, to create the changes that our communities will be respected and don't feel that that it's us against them. Okay. It's to create, hopefully meet everybody in the middle and provide respect for our communities, and respect for our law enforcement officers also, so that the good cops can be in the positions that they need to be.
Right. How long have you been a state representative?
2 years to the day.
2 years now. Now, let me ask you this, because I go up to Harrisburg quite often, and unannounced. You'll see. I go up there unannounced before the corona, right? And I'll stick my head in the door, state representatives, senators, whatever. Even if you're not there, it'd be a note. Tracey L Fisher stopped by. And, they'll call, what's going on, stuff like that. Because here's what I learned up there, dealing with state representatives. The majority of the individuals from the city of Philadelphia does not know how y'all truly get treated up there. And the only reason I know this is because I was invited up there to an event, and the person that invited me was State Representative Joanne McClinton, which very good friend of mine. And now I'm very proud of her. She's the head of Black Caucus or whatever, right?
She's head of the Democratic.
Whatever, right? Delegate. Beautiful though. Okay, fine. It's just a title, but get the work done, and I respect the title. Okay. Anyway, she invited me up there, and we on the floor, so you can't take pictures or none of that. And we standing there, and I'm watching her give this passionate speech because she's very articulate. And she's giving this passionate speech about what is needed in her community, especially the urban community, and the lack of attention that's coming down there that's not coming. While she was giving this speech, her constituents, everybody in the room, literally, even the black ones, turned their backs and started talking to each other while she was giving her speech about what was needed in her district.
Well,
Hold it. I couldn't believe it. And when she finished, she said, in conclusion, they all turned around. And she finished her speech and they applauded, but none of them can tell you exactly what she said. And I saw that happen 2 more times with different other people. And I don't like the way they treat y'all up there. And I mean, I'm very voiceful about that. I talk to the Republicans, Democrats, it don't matter. I don't like it. But what I don't see is y'all speaking out. Like, hold up, wait a minute. If we're gonna have, you have the majority and you have the minority, right? The minority, right, is people of color, and the majority is white. The majority make their decision in the hallways about what's going to take place on the floor. So the majority allow the minority to have a say, but the majority has their way. That's the equivalence of me buying you a brand new Cadillac and every day you wiping it down and somebody come out and say, hey, State Rep, why you never go nowhere with that car? You just wipe it down every day and you pop the engine, the hood, there ain't no engine.
Well, what I can say is that right now we have a Democratic leadership that's representative of the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Meaning that for the first time in a long time, the leadership of the Democratic Party represents the state in the sense of geographically.
Right.
And also, most importantly, ethnically wise. We have Representative McClinton, who's now going to be the minority leader. Representative Harris is the minority whip. And these are conversations that are going to change, that we're going to continue to have in Harrisburg, because for the first time in a while, you have a Philadelphia delegation, speaking from my part of the state, that we speak to each other almost on a daily basis, all 23 of us. And when you have cohesiveness, we'll be able to have more show for our communities collectively, not just the northeast part of the state or the city, the northwest is. We have a common goal, and that's to make Philadelphia better. Whether it's South Philadelphia or the 197th, which I proudly represent, it's not. We don't see it as we're in competition with one another, but we are part of something larger.
Right.
And that's how our work is starting to show by bringing more people from Philadelphia to be in leadership that we did not have before.
But you understand my concerns.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
you understand.
I mean, look, we're coming from, it's particularly these last 4 years with the rhetoric coming out of the White House have been damaging to relations. Have a certain group of us believe they're better than the others, and they've always, for obvious reasons, the last 4 years they were able to show that card very proudly.
Absolutely.
But now I worked diligently to make sure that Biden got elected. And now it's about being American and making America accountable to our communities, so that we can hopefully start. Our community can believe that we are part, that we can believe in the American dream, that we are part of the American dream. But we need to work at it also. We cannot just expect things to be given to us, because it's historically, even let's look at what's going on through the pandemic. The community that's been working in the services industry is my community. There's a reason why we have the largest number of COVID infected people in Philadelphia, is because our people are out there. My community is out there working in the service industry, working in the hospitals, working in places that you're most vulnerable. Just today, we started a COVID testing site in front of my office, thanks to Philly fighting COVID.
Where's your office at?
635 West Erie Avenue.
Okay.
They'll be open from 9 to 1 p.m. It's a shameless plug.
No, it's not.
Monday,
it's needed.
Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they'll be there from 9 to 1, giving out free COVID testing. And that's me getting up and identifying possibilities and opportunities, bringing them back to my district. I started a decent partnership with Harrisburg University. Harrisburg University has one of the most important programs for children in urban communities that are getting ready to go into college. I sing their praises. Likewise with CCP, is making sure that our kids in high school, before they graduate high school, they understand where they need to go into higher education, to learn a trade, to learn to work in a field where the jobs are going to be. Not to go out and get a debt from college.
Right, I understand.
And that's what my office and I have been working very diligently. And we've taken kids to Harrisburg University. Now because of COVID, we had to stop that program. But it's showing our kids the possibilities, that how big Pennsylvania is, and it's for them to rule, for them to go out and win it.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you feel about the vaccine that's supposed to be coming out now, far as with the COVID and stuff?
Well, it's been. I mean, I think that's the only good thing, or one of the good things that the Trump administration did, is make sure that all politics were placed aside for the most part, and get the job done when it came down to getting vaccine. How effective it's going to be, it's still too early.
Right.
They're saying that certain vaccines are 90%, 95%. What are the long-term effects, and that's
Right.
that
5% is what's going to kill you if you ain't paying attention to it.
And not only that, I mean, there's long-term effects that still have not shown up in any studies, and they're not going to show because we don't have the time.
Right.
So it's just, we'll see when the companies put out their full reports, and then people need to make an educated guess as whether or not they're going to take it or not.
So, you being an educated man, big on education, how do you feel the school system is going now, as far as virtual learning and stuff, especially in the urban community?
Not, especially with my daughters that are in the school system. It's challenging because as parents, you have to be vigilant of what your child is doing, because they get distracted for whatever reason. Every child learns differently. Too many of our children, including my own, need hands-on experience. They need to be in a classroom. It's been challenging. For my particular case, my daughters are just getting the hang of it.
Right.
Before either the internet is down at the school, the connection is bad. It's a number of different things, but thank God things are getting some type of new normal.
Right, I understand what you're saying, because we had a councilman at large, Derek Green, 2 weeks ago was here. And he spoke about that, and he has a child with special needs. So he was like, oh my goodness, and it's really failing. And it's a shame to the kids, because most of them literally has to be hands-on training. Then you have the parents, right, where I remember when I was driving to work or whatever, and I used to see the parents. This is not a knock on them, but it's just reality. I used to see some of the parents taking their children to the bus stop, right, with a scarf on their head, pants sagging, and slippers and pajamas, right, crawling out of bed, taking them to the bus stop to go to school, then go back and lay down. Now, the same individuals has to sit down with their children at a table, right, and they both got short attention span, the mother, the father, and the child, and log on, if they even have the skills to log on, and get their children the education that's needed.
And that's why it's extremely important that we get back to the new normal as soon as possible, because we cannot afford to lose. Even this year, as challenging as it's been, all of our children are academically, for whatever reason, are falling behind. And that's that's not one case particular, but throughout the district, and it's because of many issues, not just one issue. There's no magic remedy to all of this, but that's why I am working on with the company from based here in Philadelphia. We're trying to figure out, working on plans on how we can better sanitize our work areas, sanitize our schools, and come up with a viable plan that's both economic and safe for our community.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. In the next, let's say, Biden take office in what, the
20th of January.
20th of January,
2021.
right? The first 100 days, that's what everybody, with any president, we always mark the first 100 days. What would you like to see because of Biden in office and how it would affect your community? What would you like to see? Like, wow, okay, he's really doing something because I can tell by this result.
Well, from working with Vice President Biden and throughout the campaign, I believe he'll implement what he ran on. He ran on bringing more resources to communities of color, bringing more resources to education. And within those first 100 days, I believe that he'll identify how his team and him will identify how we're going to build back better throughout the plan that they have expressed through the website. Not just identify it, but implement it. And implement is going to be an investment in our roadways, in our educational systems, and our job force. In particular in communities of color, we're behind the 8 ball when it comes to technology.
Yes.
That's why I'm pretty big on making sure our kids hear about coding, hear about the new economy, hear about where the jobs are going to be in the future. Because sometimes it amazes me how we're in the greatest country in the world, and systematically, unfortunately, we have created some of the biggest divides in education that should not be. I always like to refer to what the Pakistan government and the Indian government did in their communities, which is they looked in the early 90s, they looked into the future and said where the jobs are going to be at. And they identified engineering and the medical field. And today, Pakistani and Indian professionals, engineers, and doctors literally control these industries.
Right.
And that was a work of the government. And I believe here in particular in Pennsylvania, we can do that. We can identify a plan that we will not leave any community, any child behind. That we will put their interest first, and that's what I continue to work in Harrisburg, so that we can bring the resources, but be intentional how we're going to move our communities forward.
Right. So where are you originally from?
New York, New York.
You was born in New York, New York.
First generation Dominican American.
Oh, really? Seriously?
Born in Harlem Hospital, raised in Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
My family and I came. We moved to Philadelphia when I was 12.
Okay, all right.
And I've been here ever since.
It's a rough city, right?
It's a beautiful city. It's one of the most.
I didn't say it wasn't beautiful.
It's a beautiful city.
City.
It's one of the most hardest working cities in America, in the Commonwealth. I believe we have some of the most talented people. But we need to provide the opportunities for them to be able to excel, not just in their particular communities, but throughout our state. Too often, we shelter our communities from what's going on around the state, and I pride myself on identifying opportunities for my constituents, not just here in Philadelphia, but throughout the state.
So Philadelphia is known from President Donald Trump and others before him as a corrupt city, as far as political wise. Everything else too, but we're talking about political wise. As a young man growing up, how did you navigate through that and still keep your passion about doing what's right, your civic duty?
By educating people, by providing information to my community. When I used to run the Philadelphia Dominican Grocers Association, and the majority of the issues that business owners had with either the health department or L&I was lack of knowledge. We of government do a great job of just penalizing and not believing we can educate.
Right.
And we don't. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't understand that the persons that are paying tax dollars, we owe them, not them to us.
Right.
And we, as government, should be we should be less intrusive in their business, as long as they're doing things by what the laws and regulations are. That we need to provide a healthy environment so that businesses can grow and continue to pay their dues to their communities through their taxes and contributions. I mean, through this pandemic, we've seen a number of different businesses step up to the plate, not looking for a tax break, but just giving back to the communities. Perfect examples of Giordano Group. This past Thanksgiving season, they gave out, I believe, like over 5,000 turkeys throughout Philadelphia. I'm sure there were other, and Acme was also a part of it. The Brown family, Jeff has done a magnificent job, and that's just the private sector. It's not with government funding or
Right, I understand.
you know, it's how we make our businesses feel that we want them to stay in Philadelphia and be successful,
Right.
because our small mom and pop business are what keeps it down in a lot of our neighborhoods.
Now, it's hard to promote Philadelphia when in the last 4 years, Philadelphia has become #1 in poverty, #1 in taxing our senior citizens, right? And #2 now in crime, right? And it's hard to convince other entities to come to Philadelphia and see the beautiful side of it, right? Now, you as a politician and as a business person and as a family man, how do you see that? How do you see us getting out of that mess? Let's just deal with this one, being #1 in poverty.
Well, we need to be #1 in education if we're going to turn around. Every study out there tell you that you need to have a good educational platform. We need to be able to provide affordable housing. Affordable housing for our communities, because right now our communities are being priced out.
Absolutely. Gentrification, everything.
Gentrification is happening, and it's not just gentrification of the skin; it's economic gentrification. Whereas the people that have the good jobs are the ones that are coming in and overpricing our community, paying more than what our property, elevating our property values, which it's a good thing for the coffers of the city, but it's not a good thing for the community.
Right.
Because that's when the people have to move out. But we need to improve our educational system, starting in elementary level, all the way through high school, and ensure that we're getting our kids ready for the jobs that we're going to have in the future.
So on that note,
yes.
tell my audience how they can reach you, help you if need be, or like your website and office and stuff like that.
Absolutely. You can reach me through social media at Danilo Burgos on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our office is located at 635 West Erie Avenue. Our phone number is 215-223-1893. And we're open. We were the first office open during the pandemic, thanks to my staff and the dedication that they have for our community. And we look forward to continue to serve you.
Wow, and there you have it. I'm Tracey L Fisher, a re-entry point of view, unapologetic.
Thank you, Trace.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tracey L Fisher. This is a re-entry point of view, unapologetic podcast. And I'm here because a lot of people keep coming at me asking my opinion of the political race. Well, I'm bipartisan. I can care less about a Republican or a Democrat or independent. I don't care who win the office. What I care about the individual that's in the office. I'm not a cult follower. From my grandparents down to my parents, down to me, to my children, it was just a Democrat no matter what. And it was stay a Democrat, even though we live in a Democratic city, but we #1 in poverty, especially in the Democratic areas, and we #1 in crime, and we #1 in taxing our senior citizens in the Democratic area. So I can't keep that going. I got to break the cycle. So I teach my grandchildren how to be independent, how to be bipartisan, and start voting for the individuals. So that means if you vote for the individuals, you have to get out there and find out what that person is about. You have to actually do your homework and find out what that person is about. Like take the White House right now with President Donald Trump. I don't know Trump, never met Trump, okay? But here's what I do know. Donald Trump has never, ever, ever been a politician. He never held office. He was a TV guy and he was a business guy. Period. That's what you have inside of the White House. A TV guy, a business guy. And America is a corporation now. It's not the America that was built hundreds of years ago. We the people, for the people, by the people. That don't even exist no more. Who's ever in the White House is just a rubber stamp.